I think that authenticity is very important in wartime narratives because I think it's going to end up shaping how people see or perceive what had happened during these times of war, and they can kind of see how, or they will kind of perceive history differently in perhaps an incorrect way if the films are not filmed authentically. I think an example of this is in Grave of the Fireflies, when it shows certain scenes of like kids hiding away and stuff in shelters and stuff like that, and like having the authenticity is important because it allows for the audience to feel and understand what the children were feeling when they were hiding. And I think that, like I said, without authenticity, it can kind of reshape the way people see and view history or certain events, especially in the wars and stuff like that. I think that it like it also allows for people to kind of understand why and certain stuff happened, and have more sympathy for the events that went on rather than if it was portrayed the wrong way and kind of bypass it. I think that Nosaka's altered accounts might have might show a coping process because in his work, he had a false idea of himself, um, and kind of rewrote it to make it, maybe it was like his regrets and the way he wished he would have acted, because it came out later that a lot of it wasn't true, but he like changed the story to make it seem that he acted the way he wanted to, but he didn't actually do that. I think that it kind of talks, or it kind of proves more how, it could kind of, it is a bit of coping because of he wished he acted a certain way, and so when he was writing or telling a story, he changed it, and that could kind of dent your authenticity when it turns out that the whole story was not true per se. Not all of it was false, but a lot of it, that definitely can kind of dent your authenticity there, knowing that a lot of it wasn't true. But I do think that it reflects coping because he portrayed himself much differently than the way he actually acted. And for the last question, I think that Nosaka should be held to a higher standard of truth, because as mentioned earlier, like when these war documentaries are coming out and stuff like that, he wasn't just talking about himself, but also like how can people kind of understand and feel what the people at the time were feeling, and so it could allow them to allow the viewers to fully understand everything, and everything be illustrated correctly is super important because it will kind of change the way people see history and certain events in a certain way, and for time again, having the being held to that high standard of authenticity, as we were talking about, is very important because without it, it's tough for people to know what to believe and what not to believe. I mean, not everyone in the whole world was there, so it's important that the truth is illustrated, by Nosaka, because it allows the viewers to, like I said, feel and understand everything that was happening at the time without being there, and making sure that they have a real, actual idea of what the war looked like is super important for history purposes. Thank you.